Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am Aaron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast, where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guest is Tasha Schuh. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I met Tasha, it's probably been 3-4 years ago
Yep.
now.
Yep.
In Cedar Falls, Iowa, at a inclusion conference. The picture of me and you together shows up in my Facebook every certain time, or June of every year, I think.
Oh,
So
I
I
love
remember
it.
it. So
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. Why don't you just start us off by just telling us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, my name is Tasha Schuh, and I live in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. And I am a speaker. I am an author, and I love resilience. Love helping people overcome the challenges that they face, as I myself have overcome a lot of challenges in my journey.
Thanks for sharing that. Let's start off. What is your definition of inclusion?
Man, I think so many ways to go in that direction, but in my own life and for the people around me that I have seen, really just um acceptance and finding ways to everyone to be included, right? That is, especially in my world as a person with a disability, inclusion is huge and really important in the world that we live in, and something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, I love that. Do you maybe want to share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, absolutely. So try to think of the fastest way to share that. Don't take up the entire time. But yeah, so I grew up in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. My parents owned the grocery store. I was really involved in a lot of different things, including high school theater. And when I was almost 17 years old, I was rehearsing for my high school's musical production, The Wizard of Oz. And I was standing on stage helping with the scene change. And it was crazy. There was a lot going on. It was pitch black in the theater because we were 3 nights away from our opening night. And as I was standing there helping with this scene change, from directly behind me, they removed the cover off of the trap door on stage. And it happened so fast. They opened the cover. Someone told me to move out of the way. I took one step backward and I fell through the open trap door 16 feet to a cement floor, breaking my neck and severely crushing my spinal cord. And when I was brought by helicopter to the hospital in Rochester, Minnesota, I was told, "You're going to be a C5 quadriplegic. You will never walk again, and you will use a wheelchair for the rest of your life." And as a almost 17-year-old, that was devastating, and thought, "Oh my goodness, how could I ever be happy? How could I ever live a quality life? How could I ever um, accomplish my dreams?" And here I am, almost 29 years later, with 2 bachelor's degrees, learned how to drive a minivan. I've built my own house. I've written 2 books. I've spoken all over the country, and married my Prince Charming in 2013 and live an amazing life. And so it has not been easy. My life is full of challenges, but I've learned the power of resilience. I've learned the power of taking care of our mental health, and also just the power of keeping going through difficulties and challenges. And so I love sharing that and love helping others through my story.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. At the time of your accident, do you remember seeing like people in wheelchairs prior to that, or what was your?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. And that's always, something so interesting that I often reflect back on, because whenever I saw somebody in a wheelchair, my first thought was pity. Like, oh, that poor person. That must be awful. And then also curiosity. like, oh, I wonder how they do things. I wonder how they live. I wonder if they're depressed or if they're, wishing that they could be walking. And so, when I had my accident and had many times to reflect on that, I really wanted to be an open book with my story because I thought, wow, a lot of those stereotypes and generalizations that I had are not true, are not. And don't get me wrong, I went through months of depression and so many struggles, so many challenges. I mean, it was a horrendous journey in the beginning, but as I really got to my 10-year anniversary, I began thinking, wow, like I've done so much and I really I really love my life. I'm so grateful that I'm here and I'm so grateful that I can help others learn from my story and realize that they don't have to go through what I went through to learn how to live a good life and to make the most of life. And so, yeah, I had many, many stereotypes and generalizations. And that's why I share so much about my story because I want people to know that none of that is true.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, for me and my daughter, Cece, she's 23, and I don't remember when she uses a wheelchair, and I don't remember ever seeing somebody in a wheelchair. Now, I don't know if that's because I just didn't have a connection, so I don't remember it, but for me, it's kind of interesting hearing how people, you know, if whether they're a parent who their child has born with a disability, like what their experience was. It's just, I don't know. So I look back and wonder, like, were they there and I just didn't see them, or that I mean, I grew up in a small town, southern Minnesota, went to the same church my whole life, basically hung out there, and nobody there had a wheelchair. And then, went to a Christian school, nobody there had one. So it would have to be probably high school or out in public. So maybe
Yeah,
not,
and
I
I
guess.
think yeah, I think the people that I saw were, like, at malls, because same I mean, there was one student in my school who was in a wheelchair, but otherwise, all the other people I knew were elderly, it was like a natural progression of life, but the few people I did see, it was very interesting of what my perception was and my curiosities were.
Yeah, for sure. So said you like to share your story. I mean, have you had, um, young people who have maybe a similar story to yours where they had an accident and now are in a wheelchair? Have they come to talk to you and,
Oh,
have you been able to help them?
yeah, I've done that a lot over the years because when I had my accident, I really did not people came to me that were in wheelchairs, but their stories weren't all that inspirational, and sometimes I was actually more scared after they left than when they came, and so it wasn't really I wouldn't necessarily say helpful, if that makes sense, and, but as I began this journey and living my life and going to college and learning how to drive and people at doctors and nurses at the Mayo Clinic would reach out to me and say, "Hey, we have a patient here that's your age. Would you be willing to talk to them?" And I'm like, "Yes, like I would love to come back and tell them that yes, this is hard. Yes, this is challenging, but you can still do so many things. Like you can still accomplish your dreams. This wheelchair does not have to hold you back from living a good life." And that has really been, and I've told my doctor, I'm like, I just feel like I want to scream it from the mountaintops that like I am I'm actually thankful my accident happened. And a lot of people are like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "Yes, yes, I am. I promise you I am." And I'm not just saying that to be inspirational. It's really taught me who I am today, made me the person that I am today. But yes, I do this a lot. Speaking to people who've had newer spinal cord injuries, who've had similar challenges. I just spoke to a woman last week from Louisiana who lost her leg in a jet skiing accident a year ago on July 4th. And so she was just coming up on her 1-year anniversary and had some questions for me. And we had a connection of a friend. And, so I love doing that because trauma is trauma. And people say, oh, your accident, you're a quadriplegic. Your story is way worse than mine. It's like, no, 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 no. Trauma is trauma. Change is change. And I feel like what I've been through, other people can glean no matter what situation you're going through. So yeah, so I love helping others, love inspiring people and just helping people to be reminded, that you can get through this. You're stronger than you think. And because that's what I've learned. And that's what I've learned in my journey.
Yeah, that's great. So what helped you, like, because you've gotten your driver's license and done lots of things. I mean, what kind of got you to that point of not just, sitting around, not doing anything and not moving on with your life, or what kind of pushed you forward and you keep wanting to still try to, do what you could do and see what would happen?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I would say my family. I have a very amazing, wonderful, awesome support team. And so my family, when I would have the days where I would be depressed or I would be sad and just, want to play the whole poor me game, which is only normal. You have to grieve, you have to go through that phase and you have to go through those times to really get to the other side. But my family and my friends were just great encouragements to be like, Tasha, you can do this. We're here for you. You don't have to do this alone. And I was raised with great parents who had wonderful work ethic. And so like I wanted to work. I'm like, I cannot sit home and not do anything. Like, and so I'm like, I graduated with my class on time. I went straight to college. And just I had a friend that went to college with me who lived with me. So that if I had to go alone, I don't think I would have done it. But it was like everything kind of fell into place. My faith was a huge part of my recovery too. And just knowing that I was here for a reason and that God had a plan for my life. So I'm like, I have to keep moving forward. Like there has to be a reason that this happened. And I may not know for a long time, but I just have to keep figuratively putting one foot in front of the other to see what I can do because I am not a quitter. And my family, my entire life growing up, my dad and my mom were always like, shoes are not quitters. Shoes are not quitters, And so it was like when my accident happened, I'm like, well, I feel like quitting now, but nobody's going to let me do that. So I just kept pressing on and just began seeing, and my motto at the time was one day at a time. Because when I would think 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, that's when depression would set in, like, am I ever going to get married? Am I going to be able to go to college? Am I going to be able to have kids? All these things that were dreams of mine. And I was like, I just have to focus on the now. I just have to focus on today, giving my best today, doing what I can today. And when I lived with that motto, I look back 10 years and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have done so much and I didn't even think it was big. I didn't even think it was inspirational or, I just was living my life and began to see all that I could accomplish.
Yeah. Do you have any like daily practices that you do to kind of stay in the moment or help you keep
Yeah.
moving forward?
So my husband and I, we are both people of faith. So we, do devotions in the mornings. And then I'm a very routine oriented person, which with our speaking schedule, it doesn't always work out. Because some days we're gone the entire week. Some days we're gone a day here, a day there. So I try to be really mindful on the days that we're home and the times that we're home because we speak mostly at schools and education conferences. So those are mostly August to May. So we usually have June and July where we're home working on other projects that we've put off throughout the year when we're traveling and don't have time to do them. And so, which is that time right now. So it's like really being mindful when I wake up in the morning to stay on task, stick to my routine. But yeah, I love to read. That's one of my favorite things. Like, cause I do a lot with mental health. reading is one of my favorite things that have helped me to refresh, rejuvenate, and I love inspirational stories of other people. So I'm always reading books about famous people and inspirational stories of overcoming. And that always helps me too, to be like, man, this person just did amazing things. Like, and it just has helped me in my story and also helps me inspire others. I share those stories through social media and just um love to read. So I definitely live a very routine life because I have caregivers that come in every morning, and I have a caregiver that comes in for lunch, and then I have two caregivers in the morning and two caregivers are at night that come and help me with my cares. So my husband is my husband. He knows my cares and he'll do them if I need him to, but I really prefer him to be my husband. And so I have caregivers that come in and help me throughout my day. So it really only leaves me so many hours in the day to get things done. And so I um, am very strategic in my day so that I can stay on task, but also, like you said, stay in the moment and make the most of each day.
Yeah. So for my day job, I co-facilitate some DBT groups. So I started doing that about a year ago and learned more about like mindfulness and staying in the moment. And that has been I would say a game changer for me, just trying to, just stay in the moment when your brain starts getting anxious, worrying about stuff like, okay, hold on. I can see trees out my window, try to like bring it back in. So that's been a huge thing for me, just trying to keep my brain in the pure moment right now, like turn my phone upside down or leave my phone in the car when we're going to go to a concert or something, just to not have that temptation. So,
Oh, and it's so important in the days of technology. So many things screaming at us, wanting our attention, pulling us. It is a challenge. And so it is, but I've just found that when you're in the moment, life is so much more enjoyable. And I'm guilty too. My husband will tell you I'm on my phone all the time. So I'm not perfect. So there's no judgment on anyone here. It's just doing your best. Like, what are the things that can make you, and that's like for me, I have struggled with anxiety in the past. And that I think staying in the moment, because most of our anxious thoughts come from regrets from yesterday, which we can't change, and our fears for tomorrow, which we can't change. Like nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So it is like, okay, if I can just think on today, focus on today, and really what matters, my loved ones, my the people in my life, really the work that you're doing, those are the things that help us stay present and help us stay in the moment and really help us to live with no regrets and also again just to make the most of the day that we're given because tomorrow is not promised. So I really think it's so important to have that mindfulness.
yeah, for sure. So you go around and do speaking stuff at lots of different places, like how accessible or have you had crazy stories about you showing up to some place to speak and they know you're in a wheelchair, but the stage isn't accessible or anything like that?
Thankfully, most of our thankfully I'm very proactive. I'm a huge advocate of checking on all of those things before we get there. Because I've learned and we've seen that accessibility for one person, inclusion for one person is not the same for another. And that is something that's really huge. So I have for every engagement that we have, I mean, this is my husband and I, it's our full-time job. Every engagement that we have everything laid out and listed out what we need. Wheelchair accessible bathroom, stage access, um, building access. But thankfully we speak mostly in schools, which are all under the ADA law. So we have experienced very little of that. And also just the conferences we're at, thank goodness for the ADA laws, really eliminate a lot of challenges. But it's something that I have learned that I have to voice my needs. I have to share because people just can't assume that I can't assume that they're going to know. And that's when troubles happen, is when we assume. So I've really become a clear voice in letting what my needs are, and people are always willing to accommodate to that, thankfully.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because we like going to concerts. So when we take my daughter to concerts, like I always, have to figure out if her spot, does that include like one companion? Does it not include the companion? Like, what is that? Because some places it's included, some places it's not. And then I got
Right.
to figure out the bag policy because she has rescue meds for her seizures. So I like always call them like, okay, your bag policy is a clear bag this size. I mean, she has these medical things. I don't want to get to the security and now they're not going to let me bring it in. So I either have to decide then and there to not go in or, take that back to the car. And then it's just, so yeah, I completely understand. Like, and sometimes depending on my mood, I'm like, I really shouldn't have to do this, but it's like if you don't, like you don't want to show up and like I can't get in or whatever. So
And it is, it is things that the average person doesn't think about, before going somewhere. I mean, that's how it is when we travel. The airplanes, we don't do a lot of airplanes anymore because they tend to always wreck my chair. So we pretty much drive everywhere we go now. But there again, like you have to, I would always have a suitcase of just medical supplies, and the airlines cannot charge you for that. So I'd have to be an advocate and be like, because a lot of people didn't know that that was the policy. I'm like, this is how it goes. Like, and I have all my documentation there to show that they can't charge me for that, to show that I can have a suitcase specifically for those medical supplies. But yeah, it's a lot, it takes a lot of thought and a lot of time to make sure that those things are in place so that you can have an enjoyable concert, trip, vacation, all of those things.
yeah, a couple of years ago, I did a post on Instagram, like around the 4th of July time, like just the thought came into my mind, like going to a parade with, a child not in a wheelchair. It's like you get in the car, park anywhere, walk and sit down. And then I was like, okay, my daughter in a wheelchair. It's like you just mentioned, you have these 10 things that you have to do. You can only park in certain places. You have to you can't, not as easy to get into between crowds without running people over. And so it's just, yeah, it's something you don't really realize until you're like, wow, this is a whole lot more planning.
Yeah, and that's actually, it's just so, until I had my accident, I had no idea. Like I remember coming back to Ellsworth for the first time, going down Main Street in my new wheelchair accessible van and looking and being like, I can't go there, can't get into there. That's not accessible, can't go there. And I'm like, the things we never think about. I never thought about this. And you don't think about this unless you know somebody or you are somebody with a disability. Like it really is mind blowing on how, but I think we've come a long ways. And I'm very grateful because I know people in my situation who have been in wheelchairs for 60, 70 years and have said, I remember when restaurants all had steps to get into. I'm like, what? Like restaurants had steps? And they're like, oh, yeah. This one guy had to convince the Country Kitchen to make a wheelchair accessible restaurant. And I'm like, what? Like, so and no curb cutouts and no elevators. I mean, like all these things. So we've come a long way, but we have a ways to go. And it's a forever thing. And I'm so grateful I live in the United States. I mean, I have friends that live in France and friends that live all over the world, and there's no accessibility. No, they don't even try inclusion. They don't even, it's not even a part of their society. And it's really, really, really sad.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it is for sure. Like how you start seeing it, because my partner, she has never been around somebody in a wheelchair as much as she is now, and she told me like she's like I knew ADA was around, so I just figured everything was accessible. And now she's like she's starting to see like all these things too where it's not accessible. So it is, yeah.
It's,
You're aware of it, you're not. You don't see this stuff.
yeah, and my husband too. I mean, he just was like, what? What? Like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about this. I'm like, this is my world. It is, it's very eye opening.
Yeah, for sure. Do maybe you want to talk about your books a little bit in your podcast, what those things
Yeah,
are about?
absolutely. Thank you. Yes, so I have 2 books. They're both on my website, tashaschuh.com. If you could put the link, if you wouldn't mind putting that in the show notes for me, but it's titled My Last Step Backward is my first book of really the story of my accident, my recovery, so many other things that brought me to where I am today. And then my second book is titled My Next Move Forward. And this book is all about how Doug and I met, my husband and I, our journey of meeting, dating, getting married, and our life together. And it's just it's again covering a lot of those stereotypes and generalizations that I had and that people had about me. When I started dating Doug, there were a lot of people in my small town that thought he had ulterior motives or that how could he really love me? And that caused a lot of insecurity. And so I shared very openly in this book about um, the challenges that we faced and really overcoming and proving those negative stereotypes to be wrong. And then yes, I have a podcast too titled Resilience with Tasha Schuh. And I'm in my first season now. And so it's me sharing my story, my journey from my childhood to the day of my accident and beyond, and then plan on having interviews. And my husband is going to join me in the future too. We'll do the podcast together of just our life and journey together and just resilience, because resilience is such a passion of mine of helping people um, through what I've learned and helping people um, learn resilience because we're not born with resilience. It's a learned skill and we can continue to grow in it. And we'll continue to grow in it as long as we live because every challenge we face is how we can grow in resilience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was your husband like in TV or radio or something?
He was. My husband
Okay.
was actually a meteorologist for WQOW in Eau Claire for almost 12 years. On radio, he was Doppler Doug. I still call him Doppler Doug whenever I need a weather forecast around here because I tell everybody I get my own personal weather forecast every day. It's pretty amazing. So, yes, he was in TV until we got married. And then we would have lived such opposite lives with him working at the station from 3 to 11 and I would be traveling. So he left his job and we decided that we would work together. And it's been awesome.
That's great. Somehow I remember that random fact. I don't know why. That's what I do. I
Yeah. Oh,
remember
yeah.
these
No, that's
random things.
awesome. That's awesome. He would be so happy that you remember that or that you know that because he was on everybody's TVs every night for almost 12 years. And he definitely misses it, but he knows that this is where he's supposed to be. So it's been
Yeah.
it's been fun.
Do you guys ever do like speaking engagements where you're both up on stage, like talking?
Yes, yeah, actually our elementary presentation that we give to usually K through 5th grade, um, we do that together. So he does half of the presentation, I do half of the presentation, and it is so much fun. And then he at our other engagements, whether that's middle and high school or adult audiences, he introduces me and then comes up in between, does some activities, which is really, really fun because he's so great with people. And so, what's the word? He has a great stage presence. And he loves being up. So, yeah, so we really do it together. But with middle and high school and adult presentations, I do most of the speaking. But yeah, we started our Build Your Brave message with elementary and so much fun having him up there with me and partnering together in that message.
That's great.
Yeah.
What is one tip you can share to help the listeners be more inclusive today? So just something anybody can start doing today to be more inclusive.
I think just looking and watching and seeing, in your own life, how can you be more inclusive for others, for the people in your life that have disabilities? Because there are millions of people in this country alone that have a disability. So, and then also just speaking up, helping, and seeing where inclusion can be, whether that's in your workplace, whether that's in your home, whether that's with a friend. I don't know if that makes sense, but just being mindful, as we just talked about, and realizing that inclusion is important for everyone. And if you're not disabled now, you are likely to have a disability in the future. I mean, it is like what, 1 in 6 people in the country have a disability. And so it is really important. And I think when we're more inclusive, everybody benefits. Everybody wins.
Yeah, that's great. If there's one thing you hope listeners take away from your story, what would it be?
Resilience. I just, we all go through challenges. We all go through struggles. And if that's where you're at today, if you're listening to this, I just want to encourage you to keep moving forward. Know that better days are ahead and that you're stronger than you think. You can do this.
Love that. You already mentioned your website. Is that the best place to connect with you?
Yeah. TashaSchuh.com. Or I'm also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I have lots of videos. So would love for you to follow me and check me out.
Awesome. I'll make sure I put all those links in the show notes.
Thank you.
Ready for the last question?
Yes.
You like Spam lunch meat, yes or no?
Oh my gosh, that was not what I was expecting. Okay, Aaron, this is hilarious. I grew up eating Spam. My family and I, like, I even like see the can and my mouth starts to water of like how we would make it. My mom would slice it up, or does it come pre-sliced or do you slice it? I can't remember.
You slice it.
Okay, and then she would put it in a frying pan with butter, and then we would eat it with ketchup, and it would be like from the frying pan, it'd be like crispy. And it's so funny. I was like, do people still eat Spam? I'm a little weirded out that it can sit on the shelf and not be refrigerated. I have to say that's a little weird to me, but loved it growing up, but I haven't had it in probably 25 years.
That's funny.
Do you like Spam?
I mean, I like it. We probably eat it a couple of times a year, nothing, but we fry it up and have it with like pancakes usually, like as breakfast.
Cool. Okay, so a breakfast thing.
So, but yeah, I live near Austin where they make Spam and where the Spam Museum's located.
Nice.
So I've just been asking everybody to see the reation.
You
might have the award for the most laughing after I put the can up there.
Well, it's true. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just asking my mom about this a couple months ago. Like, did we eat? I swear we ate Spam a lot. She's like, oh my gosh, we ate it all the time. I'm like, do people still eat it? She's like, yes, they do in the Spam Museum. Never been there, but we'll have to make it a point to go someday.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. They got a lot of history stuff, a lot of interactive things, so it's kind of a cool place to go.
Have to put it on my bucket list. That's awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks so much.
To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episodes. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.